Do you love to travel and save money? Or do you wish you could travel but money is holding you back? You're in the right place. Welcome to the Family's Flyfree podcast, where I show you how to fly your family free forever using my simple Flyfree formula. I'm your host, Lynn Mettler. My family of four has mastered the art of flying free as simply as possible since 2015, and I want to show your family how to do it too. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Family's Flyfree podcast. If this is your first time listening to a podcast, welcome. And if you're a longtime listener, welcome back. We're so glad to have you. So I've gotten busy this summer. We've done a lot of traveling. So my apologies for there being a brief pause between podcasts here. Summer is getting away from me. I can't believe we're almost to the end of it. I know here where I live in Indiana, we just have only about a 2-month span of summer. And when I grew up, it was about 3 months. So it seems especially short that we're already turning around and our kids go back to school on August 4th. So we've almost come to the end. And we have worked hard to jam pack this summer with some travel. We have a son going off to college this fall, and so we wanted to get in one more trip with him. And then my husband and I have been able to take a couple of trips ourselves, just the two of us, to enjoy some getaways as well. So we've been very busy. We have already flown 4 times this year. So we've flown free, of course. We went to Miami in February. We went to Kauai in April for spring break. Then my husband and I went to New York City, which you heard about, the recap on the podcast. And then we just came back about a week and a half ago from Colorado, and we took the whole family out there. I'm going to do a full episode recap on that. But we did some different things. We love Colorado. That's a place that we return to over and over, kind of like New York City and Disney. But we did some different things. So we went to some familiar places. We went to Durango, which was a new place for us in Colorado. And we did some off-roading for the first time, which was really fun. And we went and found some ghost towns, some of the, remnants of the Wild West and the old mines. So I'll share details about that in an upcoming podcast. And now we are getting ready to head to Santa Barbara for one last couples getaway. So that's going to be 5. And I've got at least 1 or 2 more planned for this fall, and maybe even 3. So I think we may hit a record number of flights free this year. Normally we fly about 6 times a year, again, outside the pandemic. And so we may cross over into 7 or 8 territory this year, which is awesome. I love it. I love just having a lifestyle of travel. We don't take vacations. We're just thinking about where's our next trip going to be. And we've really kind of gotten into the flow this summer of we go somewhere, we come back, we relax at home for about a week. And then we're already starting to get that itch to go somewhere else. And we've been able to do that seemingly about 2 to 3 weeks between trips here. And it's been really, really fun. So that's just to show you what you can do when you get under our system of flying free. And again, it's super easy once you learn my Flyfree formula to just have everything. You got to get it set up in the beginning. But once you do that and you learn the process, you just put it on autopilot, and it just works for my family. My pool of points is constantly being replenished so that I always have more to book our next trip. And flights have been expensive this summer. Points prices have been high, and we've still been able to do this level of travel under my system. So it does work, you guys. If you want to get to flying 6, 7, 8 times a year like us, we'll be happy to show you our system inside of Families Fly Free. And you can check that out always at familiesflyfree.com/join. That's my membership program where we work one-on-one with you and put you in a fantastic community of like-minded travelers who are all flying free too. And we give you a custom plan We provide weekly live webinars, and we give you one-on-one support with any questions you have. And we teach you our systems so that you can start to do this too. So on to the topic for this week. I wanted to talk about my family's shift to carry-ons only. This is kind of big news for my family. We have always checked bags because we fly Southwest throughout the US and the Caribbean, and Southwest lets you check 2 bags per person free, up to 50 pounds each. So that's really never even crossed our mind to take a carry-on because we can check bags free. So why wouldn't we want to do that? So we've been doing this since 2015. We've really gotten in the habit of just taking everything that we want to take with us. We sometimes will take a bag of snacks and foods, particularly to places like Disney or Hawaii, where food is more expensive. So we can at least have breakfast in the room and have our snacks with us. But this year, because of all of the fun travel chaos those of you who've been out there traveling have experienced, and knock on wood, we have managed to bypass most of it. So we almost had an incident when we were going to Kauai this April, but by a miracle, things worked out for us perfectly. And we've been able to get everywhere that we're trying to go without issue. A few delays here and there, but nothing major. But what we are seeing happening this year is, when there are delays, and I'm always coming into this with the mindset, and there's been several episodes to help you plan for this travel chaos, but with the mindset of planning ahead for these things to happen, expecting these things to happen, and knowing what we're going to do. What is our backup plan? What's plan A, plan B, plan C if something happens? And so bags have become an issue this summer because if your flight is canceled and you have a connecting flight, so you're not at your departure city and you're not at your arrival city, and somehow your bag didn't get there and your flight is canceled and you have to stay the night somewhere, you may not have access to any of your things. I've heard stories of people who packed their medicine in their checked bag and they didn't even have their medicines that they could take with them. Of bags getting lost. My business coach, Dave Moreno, he's awesome. Check him out if you need a business coach. But he sent a picture and shared a story of when he was coming back into Toronto, and it took him 2.5 hours to get his checked bags after he landed. And then he sent a picture, which I shared on my Instagram. Go follow me at Families Flyfree if you want to see my travel and other tips on Instagram. But of just this hundreds and hundreds of bags sitting in the Toronto airport that no one had picked up. And the question is, where are the owners of those bags? And so we're not sure if, those bags just arrived late. And because of the way Toronto set up, collecting your bags is inside security. So once you leave that area, you can't come back in unless you have a ticket. So, if people just didn't get their bags and they had to leave and then they haven't come back to get them, or what the situation is. But we're trying to make things go as smoothly as possible, knowing that summer is chaotic in terms of flights and cancellations and delays and all this. So we decided to try to shift to carry-ons. And I began this experiment when we went to Kauai in April. I decided to just see if I could fit everything in a carry-on, just take that bag and see how I liked it. And so I did just fine in April. I brought my bag with me. It didn't bother me. I was afraid I wouldn't want to lug it through the airports, but because of, if you get a good quality bag, they roll fine, and they're not heavy because they're small carry-on. So I didn't mind bringing it with me through the airport at all. It was not a big deal for me to put it in the overhead bin. I really liked it. So I did that for our next trip to New York City as well. And again, had no problems. And the big person to convince here was my husband, because he's a big guy. He's 6'3". So, his shoes are 2 times as big as mine, and his clothes are much bigger, and everything takes more room in the suitcase. And he happens to be a shoe guy anyway. So he is not someone who's just going to bring 2 pairs of shoes. He wants to bring, several pairs of shoes to pick from. So it was really hard to convince him to try to pack everything down into a carry-on. He just was sure he wouldn't be able to do it. And he tends to be an overpacker anyway. Kind of all of us have been, because we've had the luxury of being able to do that. So we can pack kind of everything we think that we might need. And inevitably, we don't end up using probably a third of what we pack. And especially him, he was always overpacking. And then he'd be like, well, I didn't even end up wearing, a good bit of this stuff. So knowing how things were going this summer, he agreed to do an experiment and see what we thought about it. If all of us packed carry-ons and we didn't check anything, and so we could we could eliminate completely the chance of our bags getting lost, of having to wait for bags, any situation dealing with bags. And we don't have to stand in line either to check the bags. And if you remember my earlier episode in Orlando, in March, when I was on a business trip, the 500-person long line to even check a bag. So there, you eliminate that potential problem as well. And so what we did is he went out and I already had a carry-on. Mine is a good quality carry-on that I invested in, Logel, Logel. I really like their products. They're very lightweight, but sturdy, and we found them to be very durable. They hold up well, even when checked and thrown around. And I really just like the functionality of them. The way they open, they hold themselves open. The top stays open instead of like flopping over, which makes it easier to pack. And my carry-on, instead of opening like a clamshell, the very top of it opens. And then you just put everything down in one side, and it has a little padded area for a laptop, which is nice as well. And I usually, I keep my laptop in my backpack in a padded area, because I usually use it on the plane. But for this Colorado trip, that sleeve came in handy because my younger son was taking online PE and health as he heads into high school this year. And so he did need to do some of his classwork while we were in Colorado. So I just stuffed his laptop in that padded sleeve in the suitcase in my carry-on, and it protected it perfectly well. My husband went out and bought himself and my two boys just inexpensive, hard-sided carry-on bags. I think he got them at Ross. He was looking at like Marshalls and TJ Maxx and Ross, because I had noticed that Ross had a huge selection of suitcases when I was in there one day. And I thought, oh, this would be a good place to go, if we need to get some extra bags, because they seem to have all kind of styles and everything. So we decided to get inexpensive ones. They were about $75, I think, to give this a try and see how we liked it. So we figured we can use these until, they break down if they're not good quality. And then if we like it, we could invest in better quality bags. And here's the thing about carry-ons. They don't need to be as sturdy as checked bags, because they're not getting thrown around on conveyor belts and willy-nilly like crazy, by the baggage handlers. You are just taking it through the airport. You're putting it in the overhead bin as gently as you want. I suppose it gets rattled around in the overhead bin during flight, but it's less likely to get scuffed and bent up and broken and the wheels broken if you take care of it. So I think it's less important that they be super sturdy compared to a check bag. So we picked hard-sided bags. They do all open like a clamshell. They were Samsonite, and they were we got each person a different color. So everyone would know whose bag is whose. The only thing we missed on these is they don't have a side handle, which is nice because that makes it easier to put things in and out of a car, just kind of grab it from the side. And so we gave each boy their own bag. I sent them a list of what they needed to have packed for Colorado. It was great. They packed their stuff. I, double checked with them that they got the important things. Of course, a couple of things they hadn't gotten, and they put those in, but it was a great learning experience for them because they kind of knew they could only take what would fit in that bag. So one of my sons is also a shoe guy. And so he knew, well, he could only take as many shoes would fit in the bag. And so if he wanted to take more shoes, he needed to figure out, well, he's going to have to put that in a backpack or some other place, or he's not going to be able to take it. So again, that was a great lesson for them to understand how to pack, what they needed to pack, and also they could only pack what would fit. And my husband really learned that same lesson too. So it forced him to not overpack because he knew he could only take what would fit in his bag. His stuff bled over a little bit into some of our other bags, which was fine, because we had some room. And so he made it work, and he really liked it, which I was really surprised. I thought he wouldn't like it. So we all took our bags, and we were in charge of our own bags and putting our own bags in the overhead bin. And in Colorado, we were in charge of unpacking our stuff. And then when it was time to go, making sure we had everything packed back in our bags. And we did use a lot of strategies. We have a great video inside Families Fly Free that shows you how to pack everything in a carry-on. And you do have to get creative here. So like, for example, it's best if you can, if you don't have enough room, you can wear your bulkier shoes on the plane instead of packing them. But for Colorado, like actually we needed to bring some hiking shoes, and we needed to bring some hiking stuff and some raincoats. And we were able to fit all of that. I actually was able to fit my hiking boots in my carry-on and wear my flip-flops, which is what I would much prefer. My UFOs flip-flops, if you haven't heard me talk about those, but I love to wear those all the time if it is a modicum warm outside, because to me, they are the most supportive shoe. Who would think that of flip-flops, but for my feet. So we were able to pack our hiking stuff. And again, using some tips, you want to make sure you fill shoes with, socks, or coming back, we could stuff like dirty clothes that would fit inside the shoes. I took a big drawstring bag with us this time. That was a new thing for us. And we used that throughout our trip to put our dirty clothes in. And we stayed at a Verbo and an Airbnb, so half and half. And one of them had a washer and dryer, the second one. So we were able to wash clothes throughout, which was super great. I always love having a washer and dryer where we are. And so there's ways to make things fit. And you just have to, we rolled our clothes for the most part. You just got to get creative. And then everyone had their own backpack too. And like I said, my husband, he opted to just put 2 pairs of shoes in his backpack, and that's what he carried in his backpack, so he could bring extra with him. And then the rest of us, we rolled up our raincoats and put those in our backpack, so those didn't have to take room in the bag. And then what I've started to do also, which is I started to do when I was coming back from Orlando in March, I had a straw bag that I was using for a photo shoot, like something you would take to the beach. That has a material liner. And so I just brought that back on the plane with me with my backpack. And I like that because it's open and I can just easily access anything I need on the plane. And so I started to take that with me on the plane every time. And so what I do is now I would have a carry-on, a backpack, and the straw bag. But what we've been doing is just kind of, my younger son has kind of a drawstring bag instead of a backpack. So we just kind of shove his drawstring bag into the straw bag. And then he takes the straw bag as his second item. So he's got his rolling carry-on, and then he's got the straw bag with his backpack in it. And then I have my backpack and my carry-on, and everyone else has their backpack and their carry-on. So that works very well. I just like the fact that it's open and that I can keep my book in there. I can keep my glasses in there. I can keep my drink in there. It's just easy to throw things in. If we go, get a snack or, a bag of chips, whatever, it's easy to just throw in there and then to access it on the plane instead of having to unzip the backpack. And that's always much more difficult to get to what you need inside the backpack. So anyway, that's one of my new favorite tricks that's working really well. All right, what else do I want to tell you about carry-ons? Overall, like I said, it was a success. We got off the plane. My husband was like, this is awesome. We didn't even have to worry about collecting our bags. When we got to Denver, we were able to go immediately off to our hotel or our rental car, whatever. Just it saved a lot of time not to have to deal with that. It gives you a little bit more breathing room when you're going to the airport, because you don't have to check a bag and you don't even have to worry about if there's going to be a line there. You just zip right on through security and off you go. And it does help if you have TSA pre-check, because then you're going to not have to take out as much stuff. And we didn't have them check our bags for any reason when we were going through. So I just want to encourage you, particularly this summer where anything can become an issue, as we have all of these staffing issues and high travel demand and just continued delays and cancellations and weather, to just if you can eliminate one potential problem, why not? This has worked. It's a great experiment for my family. I never thought we would be people who would take carry-ons and not check bags. And it turns out we love it. So give it a try. See what you think about it. It also really encourages responsibility for your kids because they have their own bags that they get to pack themselves and be in charge. So all around a win-win for us. So definitely give it a go. Let us know what you think. Come follow us on Instagram at Families Fly Free, and tell us what you think about your carry-on experiment. And I will fill you in on our trip to Colorado coming up, and then also our trip to Santa Barbara, which is another one of my husband and I's favorite places. It's just absolutely beautiful. It's just a fun little downtown to hang out and go out to eat and listen to live music and go shopping. So we're really looking forward to that. And maybe I'll be there by the time you're listening to this episode. So I hope you have a great rest of your summer and your summer travels. And I will chat with you next week.
Ready to fly your family free? Come join me inside my Families Fly Free program, where you get my simple step-by-step plan and my personal help so you can make more priceless travel memories with your family before your kids leave home. Visit familiesflyfree.com/join. That's familiesflyfree.com/join to learn more and get started flying free today.